Captain Stone stood at the command center of the refugee fleet's flagship, his silver eyes fixed on the swirling chaos ahead. The cosmic storm stretched across space like an angry ocean, its purple and green waves of energy threatening to swallow his people whole. 10,000 ships carrying the last survivors of their civilization hung behind him, their fate resting heavily on his shoulders. "Shield status?" he asked, his voice steady despite the growing fear in his chest. "Critical, Captain," replied First Officer Bright, her fingers dancing across the holographic controls. "The quantum fluctuations are unlike anything in our records. Our advanced shields are failing at an alarming rate." Stone watched as another wave of energy crashed against their defenses. The ship's AI reported a 3% drop in shield strength from that single hit. At this rate, they wouldn't last another day. Behind them, their dying sun had finally collapsed, destroying their home system and forcing this desperate exodus. Now, barely a week into their journey to find a new home, they faced extinction again. "Show me the local star maps," Stone ordered. "There must be somewhere we can seek help." The three-dimensional map materialized in front of him, showing mostly empty space. Their long-range scanners had detected a promising solar system for colonization, but the cosmic storm blocked their path. Retreating wasn't an option. Their fuel reserves were too low after the rushed evacuation. "Captain," called out Navigator Deep from his station, "I'm detecting unusual radio signals from a nearby system. They're primitive by our standards, but they suggest an intelligent species." Stone frowned. "Show me." The signals appeared on the main screen, crude radio waves carrying digital information. Stone recognized the basic patterns of a developing civilization, probably still confined to their home system. Under normal circumstances, their people's laws strictly forbade contact with such primitive species to prevent cultural contamination. But these weren't normal circumstances. Another energy wave hit them, larger than the last. Warning alarms blared across the command center as the shields flickered visibly. "Shields at 41% and falling," Bright reported. "We're losing power to the stabilizers. Captain, we need to make a decision now." Stone watched the primitive signals, noting how they seemed to cut through the storm interference with surprising clarity. These beings, whoever they were, appeared to have experience with this type of cosmic phenomenon. "Analysis of the signals?" he asked. "They call themselves humans," Deep answered. "Their main civilization is based on the third planet of their system. They've established colonies on their fourth planet, and several moons. Their technology is basic: chemical rockets, nuclear power, early ion drives. But," he paused, checking his readings again, "they seem to regularly send ships through areas of severe solar activity. Their vessels are heavily shielded against radiation and electromagnetic interference." Another hit rocked the ship. "Shields at 35%. Stone made his decision. Their advanced technology was failing them, and pride was a luxury they couldn't afford when millions of lives were at stake. He straightened his back and gave the order that would change the course of two civilizations. "Prepare a distress signal," he commanded. "Translate it into their primary digital formats. Tell them," he paused, choosing his words carefully, "tell them we are refugees seeking safe passage. Our shields are failing against the storm, and we have thousands of civilian ships with millions of lives aboard. Ask if they have experience navigating similar phenomena." The command crew stared at him in shock. Asking primitives for help went against everything their civilization stood for. But Stone saw the fear in their eyes, not for themselves, but for the millions of civilians in the ships behind them. Sometimes survival meant swallowing your pride. "Signal prepared, Captain," Deep announced after a moment. Stone took a deep breath. "Send it, and may the stars forgive us if we're wrong." The message shot out through space, riding the same crude wavelengths the humans used. As Stone watched it go, he couldn't help but wonder what kind of beings they were about to meet. Would they even understand the danger? Would they be willing to help strangers from the stars? All he could do now was wait and hoped these humans were better at handling cosmic storms than they were at building spaceships. Captain James Miller was drinking his morning coffee on the observation deck of Space Station Freedom when the alert came in. At first, he thought someone was playing a joke. Aliens asking for help. It had to be a prank. But as he rushed to the command center, the reality sank in. The message was real, detected by multiple stations across the solar system. A massive fleet of alien ships was trapped in the Anderson-Thompson storm, a swirling mass of quantum energy that had puzzled Earth's scientists for decades. "Play it again," he ordered, watching the translated message scroll across the main screen. The command center was packed with officers, all staring at the impossible situation unfolding before them. 10,000 ships, muttered Commander Roberts, Miller's second-in-command. And they're saying they have millions of refugees aboard. This is way beyond anything we've trained for. Miller studied the energy readings from the storm. It was similar to the solar storms they regularly dealt with near Jupiter Station, just on a much larger scale. Earth's ships weren't pretty or advanced, but they were built tough. Like old-time sailing ships, they were designed to ride out the worst space could throw at them. "What do their ships look like?" he asked. The screen filled with images captured by long-range telescopes. The alien vessels were beautiful, sleek, silver crafts that seemed to glow with their own light. But Miller could see the problem immediately. Their smooth surfaces and energy shields were actually making the storm worse, like metal in a microwave. "Get me the Endurance," he ordered, "and send word to all storm chaser ships in the outer system. Tell them this is not a drill." Within an hour, Miller stood on the bridge of the Endurance, Earth's premier rescue vessel. She wasn't much to look at. A bulky, reinforced hull covered in heat shields and radiation plating. But she had pulled countless ships out of solar storms and radiation waves that would have destroyed prettier vessels. "All storm chasers report ready, Captain," Roberts announced. "We've got the Wild Wind, Storm Dancer, and Thunderchild all moving to support positions." Miller nodded. These ships and their crews were the best humanity had when it came to handling the worst conditions in space. They were the ones who kept the solar system's shipping lanes open when solar flares threatened to shut everything down. "Send a response to the alien fleet," he ordered. "Tell them help is coming, but they need to follow our instructions exactly. Their advanced shields are working against them in this situation." As the message was sent, Miller watched the storm on his screens. The aliens had stumbled into one of the nastiest space weather phenomena known to humanity. The Anderson-Thompson storm was like a hurricane made of quantum energy, and these refugees had sailed right into it. "Message away," reported Communications Officer Ray. They're asking if we understand what we're getting into. They say their technology is far beyond ours, and the storm is unlike anything they've encountered." Miller couldn't help but smile. "Tell them that's exactly why they need our help. Sometimes the old ways work better than the new ones. We've been dealing with space storms since we first left Earth's atmosphere. What we lack in advanced technology, we make up for in experience." The Endurance's engines hummed to life, their steady vibration familiar and comforting. Around them, the other storm chaser ships moved into formation. They looked like a group of workhorses next to the alien fleet's thoroughbreds, but Miller knew which ones would make it through the storm. "All ships report ready for rescue operations," Roberts announced. Miller took a deep breath. They were about to make humanity's first contact with an alien civilization, and instead of diplomats in fancy meeting rooms, it would be rescue crews in the middle of a space storm. "Send to all ships," he ordered. "This is what we trained for. These people need our help, and we're going to show them what humanity can do. Engines ahead full. Let's go save some aliens." The small fleet of human rescue ships pushed forward into the storm, their tough hulls cutting through the energy waves like ships through rough seas. Humanity's first mission to meet aliens had begun, not with handshakes and ceremonies, but with a rescue mission that would show the galaxy what humans did best: facing the impossible and finding a way through. The first attempt to reach the alien fleet didn't go as planned. Captain Stone watched in disbelief as the small human ships approached, their crude hulls somehow cutting through the energy waves that were tearing his fleet's shields apart. "They're going to get themselves killed," First Officer Bright said, watching the human vessels plow through the storm like ancient sea ships. But they didn't die. Instead, the lead ship, called Endurance, pushed through the worst of the storm and pulled up alongside the alien flagship. Its hull was scorched and scarred, but intact. Captain Miller's voice crackled over their communication system. "Alien vessel, this is Endurance. We're seeing why you're having trouble. Your shields are actually making things worse." Stone looked at his own readings. The humans were right. Their advanced energy shields were somehow amplifying the storm's effects, but turning them off was unthinkable. Without shields, space itself could tear their ships apart. "Our shields are essential for space travel," Stone replied. "Without them, our ships cannot survive." "With respect, Captain," Miller answered, "that's not exactly true. Look at our ships. We're using old-fashioned hull plating and heat shields. Sometimes the simple solution works better." As if to prove his point, another wave of energy slammed into both ships. The alien flagship shuddered as its shields dropped another percentage point. The Endurance just rode through the wave, its thick hull dispersing the energy harmlessly. "Storm's getting worse," Commander Roberts shouted over the comm. "We need to make a decision fast." Stone watched as more human rescue ships arrived. They were ugly things, covered in thick plates and radiator fins, looking more like space stations than proper ships. But they moved through the storm with surprising grace, their crews clearly experienced at handling such conditions. "Captain," Miller said urgently, "we need you to power down your shields on at least one ship. Let us show you how to handle these conditions. Your shields are like mirrors in a hall of mirrors. They're bouncing the energy back and forth, making everything worse." Stone looked at his crew. They were all thinking the same thing. Trusting their lives to primitive human technology seemed insane, but their own advanced systems were failing them. "I will test this myself," Stone decided, prepared to power down our flagship's shields. His crew protested, but Stone stood firm. Leaders had to take the first risk. He gave the order, and for the first time in their spacefaring history, an alien ship willingly dropped its protective shields. The sensation was terrifying. They could feel the storm buffeting their hull directly now. But something unexpected happened. Without the shields to amplify them, the energy waves weren't nearly as destructive. "Now," Miller's voice came through clearer without the shield interference, "watch and learn. We're going to teach you how to ride the storm." Over the next hour, the human ships demonstrated their techniques. They turned their ships to present the smallest profile to the strongest waves. They used their hull's natural conductivity to channel energy around them instead of trying to block it completely. It was like watching a primitive dance, but it worked. Reading significant stress reduction on the hull, Navigator Deep reported, sounding surprised. "The human methods are effective." Stone watched as the Endurance's crew talked his pilots through the basics of storm riding. It was a humbling experience. His people had mastered faster than light travel, but these humans had mastered something just as important: how to work with nature instead of trying to overpower it. "Ready to try this with more ships?" Miller asked. Stone looked at his fleet's status. Already, 3 more ships had dropped their shields and were learning from other human vessels. Their crews were scared but managing. "Yes," he replied. "Teach us. But hurry. The rest of our fleet can't maintain shields much longer." As he watched more human rescue ships spread out among his fleet, Stone realized something important. Sometimes the greatest wisdom came from those you least expected to teach you anything. These humans, with their crude ships and simple technology, were teaching his people a lesson they desperately needed to learn. Sometimes, moving forward meant being humble enough to look back. Lieutenant Ray stood in the alien flagship's control room, trying not to stare at the advanced technology surrounding him. The holographic displays made Earth's best computers look like children's toys. Yet here he was, teaching these advanced beings how to survive a space storm. "You're thinking about it too mathematically," he explained to Navigator Deep, watching the alien struggle with the manual controls. "Space storms aren't just about equations. You need to feel the rhythm." Deep's silver eyes blinked in confusion. "Feel the rhythm? That's not a scientific approach." "Maybe not," Ray smiled, "but it works. Watch." He took the controls, showing how to adjust the ship's position with small movements. "See how the energy waves come in patterns? It's like surfing on Earth. You need to work with the waves, not fight them." Around them, similar scenes played out as human storm chasers taught their techniques to alien crews. The refugee fleet was slowly learning, ship by ship, how to survive without their precious shields. On the Endurance, Captain Miller watched the training progress through status reports. 50 ships had now successfully powered down their shields and learned the human methods. But time was running out for the rest of the fleet. "Captain Stone," Miller called over the comm, "how are the remaining ships holding up?" "Not well," Stone replied. "Their shields are failing faster now. The storm's intensity has increased by 30%. Miller nodded grimly. They needed to speed up the training. "I have an idea," he said, "but you might not like it." "At this point, Captain Miller, I'm open to any suggestion. Let's link our ship's basic computers to your advanced systems. We can create a simulation program. Show all your crews at once how our methods work. Your technology can spread the lessons faster than we can teach them one by one." There was a long pause. Miller knew he was asking a lot. These aliens were proud of their advanced technology. Linking it to Earth's primitive computers must seem like connecting a quantum computer to an ancient calculator. Finally, Stone responded, "Agreed. Send your best programmer over. We'll make it work." Within an hour, young Officer Tom Reed from the Endurance was working with alien technicians. They looked at his laptop like it was a museum piece, but they couldn't argue with the storm writing programs it contained. "Your code is elegantly simple," one alien technician admitted, studying the basic but effective programs. "We would have created something far more complex." "Sometimes simple is better," Tom replied, typing quickly, "especially when you need to react fast. Complex systems can be too slow in an emergency." As the humans and aliens worked together, something unexpected happened. The aliens began asking questions about other aspects of human space travel. How did they handle solar flares? What about asteroid fields? The humans, in turn, were fascinated by alien technology, seeing ways their simple solutions could be combined with advanced systems. "Look at this," Lieutenant Ray said excitedly, pointing to a simulation. "If we combine your sensors with our riding techniques, we could actually predict storm patterns better than either of us could alone." Navigator Deep nodded thoughtfully. "A fusion of our technologies. Advanced detection with practical application. We never considered such a thing possible." In the command center, Captain Stone watched the cooperation with growing respect. These humans were full of surprises. Their solutions were simple but clever, and they showed no fear of alien technology, only curiosity and enthusiasm. "Captain Miller," he called, "I owe you and your people an apology. We thought we were so advanced, we couldn't learn anything from Earth. We were wrong." "No apology needed," Miller replied. "We're learning just as much from you. That's what space exploration should be about. Different peoples sharing knowledge." A warning alarm interrupted their conversation. The storm was growing even stronger, and thousands of ships still needed to learn the new techniques. "We need more time," Stone said worriedly. Miller checked his instruments and frowned. The storm readings were off the charts now. Even his experienced crew had never seen anything this intense. "Time is the one thing we don't have," he replied grimly. "We need to move faster, or we're going to lose half your fleet." The storm's purple-green energy waves had turned blood red, a sight that made even veteran storm chaser Captain Miller nervous. He'd never seen anything like it in 20 years of rescue work. "Status report," he called out, watching as the Endurance's hull creaked under the increasing pressure. "Not good, Captain," Commander Roberts replied, checking readings from across the refugee fleet. 700 alien ships have successfully powered down shields and learned our techniques, but that leaves over 9,000 still at risk. Their shield strength is dropping below 20%. On the alien flagship, Captain Stone faced a difficult decision. The human methods worked, that was now proven, but ordering thousands of ships to drop their shields at once seemed like madness. One mistake could kill millions. "We're losing ships in the outer edges," First Officer Bright reported, her voice tense. 3 vessels just lost shield power completely. They're taking heavy damage. Miller's voice crackled through the comm system. "Captain Stone, we need to act now. My storm readers are showing something massive building up. This is just the beginning." Stone looked at his own readings. The humans' primitive sensors were right. A wave of energy like nothing they'd ever seen was forming in the heart of the storm. When it hit, no shield would survive. "How many ships can your fleet protect?" Stone asked. "If we spread out our storm chasers, maybe 1,000 ships at once," Miller replied. "But Captain, I have another idea. A crazy one." "I'm listening." "The storm's energy pattern has a rhythm now," Miller explained quickly. "If we position your ships in a specific formation and time the shield drops perfectly, we could create a wave effect. Each ship would help break the energy for the ones behind it." Navigator Deep looked up from his station, like birds flying in formation to save energy. "That's primitive but brilliant." Stone studied the human captain's suggested formation. It would work, but the timing had to be perfect. One ship dropping shields too early or too late would disrupt the pattern and doom them all. "It's too risky," First Officer Bright argued. "We can't coordinate that many ships quickly enough." "Yes, we can," Lieutenant Ray interrupted from his position at the linked computers. "We've merged our storm prediction software with your fleet coordination systems. We can send synchronized commands to every ship at once." Stone looked at his crew. They were all exhausted from hours of fighting the storm, but he saw determination in their eyes. They had come too far to give up now. "Send the formation pattern to all ships," he ordered. "Prepare for synchronized shield deactivation on my command." The next few minutes were tense as the massive alien fleet slowly moved into position. The human storm chasers spread out among them, ready to assist any ships that struggled with the maneuver. "Energy wave approaching," Roberts shouted. 1 minute until impact. Stone watched the tactical display as 10,000 ships aligned themselves like ancient sailing vessels preparing to face a tsunami. The humans' storm-riding techniques had seemed primitive at first, but now he saw the wisdom in them. Sometimes the only way to survive nature's fury was to work with it. 30 seconds. "All ships report ready," Bright announced. "Shield drop synchronized to your command." Stone shared a look with Miller through the video link. The human captain nodded confidently. This could be their greatest triumph or their worst disaster. Energy wave at 15 seconds. Stone took a deep breath. "All ships, prepare to drop shields on my mark. Trust in our human friends. They show us the way." The massive red wave approached, dwarfing even the enormous refugee fleet. Everything depended on perfect timing now. 10 seconds. Stone gripped his command chair. This was the moment that would determine if his people lived or died. 5 seconds. Captain Miller's voice came through clear and strong. "Remember what we taught you. Don't fight the wave. Ride it." The storm's fury bore down on them like an angry god. Now, 10,000 shields dropped simultaneously, a sight never before seen in the history of space travel. The massive red energy wave slammed into the fleet formation just as Captain Miller had predicted. The front line of ships took the brunt of the impact, their thick hulls channeling the energy around them exactly as they'd been taught. "Hold formation," Captain Stone commanded, watching as the wave flowed over and around his flagship. Without shields, they could feel every vibration, every surge of power trying to tear their ship apart. But the human techniques worked. The energy dissipated as it passed through their formation, each ship protecting those behind it. On the Endurance, Miller coordinated the human rescue ships, sending them wherever the alien vessels struggled. Storm Dancer, support Section 3. Thunderchild, reinforced the port flank. The human ships darted between their massive alien companions like small fish guiding whales through dangerous waters. When an alien ship started to drift out of formation, a human vessel would quickly move alongside, showing them how to adjust their position. First wave passing. Navigator Deep announced, his voice filled with excitement. Damage reports coming in. Minimal casualties. The formation is holding. But their celebration was premature. Lieutenant Ray, monitoring the storm from his station, spotted something terrible. Second wave incoming, bigger than the first. The red energy storm had turned almost black, swirling with destructive power never before recorded in human or alien history. The wave it was building would dwarf the first one. We can't take another hit like this. First Officer Bright warned. Our hull integrity is already strained. Miller's voice crackled through the comm. Yes, we can. But we need to do something even crazier. He paused for a moment. We need to move the fleet. Move? In these conditions? Stone asked incredulously. That's suicide. Not if we do it right, Miller explained quickly. The storm has a pattern now, like a heartbeat. If we time our movement perfectly, we can ride the backflow between waves. The energy will actually help push us through. It was insane. Moving 10,000 ships in perfect coordination through the heart of the worst space storm ever recorded. But they were out of options. How long do we have? Stone asked. 3 minutes until the second wave hits, Ray reported. Stone made his decision. Send movement coordinates to all ships. Everyone follows the human vessel's lead. No questions, no hesitation. What followed was the most incredible display of coordinated space flying in history. The human ships took point positions throughout the fleet, leading groups of alien vessels through the storm like shepherds guiding their flocks. They used the storm's own energy flows to help push them along, surfing the quantum currents. The alien crews who had spent hours learning human storm riding techniques put their lessons to the ultimate test. Ships rolled and pitched in perfect harmony, presenting their strongest hull sections to the worst energy bursts while using the calmer moments to make progress. Second wave, 30 seconds. Ray called out. We're not going to clear the storm in time, Roberts warned. We don't need to, Miller responded. We just need to reach the eye. Look, through the swirling chaos of the storm, a relatively calm center had formed. If they could reach it, they'd have a chance to recover and make repairs before attempting to exit the other side. Final push, Stone ordered. Everything we've got. The fleet surged forward as one, human and alien ships working in perfect coordination. The second wave struck just as they reached the edge of the eye, but this time they were ready. The combined fleet rolled into the energy wave like surfers catching a massive break, using its power to propel them the final distance. Then, suddenly, calm. The eye of the storm surrounded them like a massive bubble of peace in the middle of chaos. Ships gradually stopped rolling, crews finally able to catch their breath. They had done the impossible. Damage report, Stone called out, his voice hoarse from shouting orders. 14 ships lost, Bright reported solemnly. But their crews were evacuated in time. Nearly every vessel has hull damage, but she looked up in amazement. We saved the fleet. Over 9,900 ships made it through. The next few hours were spent making critical repairs and preparing for the journey through the other side of the storm. But this time, they knew what to do. The aliens had learned their lessons well. A week later, the combined fleet emerged from the far side of the storm. The alien refugees got their first look at their new home, a beautiful star system with several habitable planets, perfect for colonization. But before they separated, there was one final meeting between the captains. Stone stood in the Endurance's conference room, looking distinctly out of place among the simple metal walls and practical furniture. "We came here thinking we were superior," he said to Miller. "We thought our advanced technology made us better than other species. You proved us wrong." Miller shook his head. "Not wrong. Your technology is incredible. You just needed to learn that newer isn't always better. Sometimes the old ways still have value." "We'd like to offer Earth formal alliance status," Stone continued. "Not as primitive cousins to be uplifted, but as equals. Your people have wisdom we need. And you have knowledge we could use," Miller replied. "Think what we could accomplish together." The formal alliance was signed that day. The refugee fleet established their new colony, but they didn't isolate themselves as originally planned. Instead, they built their cities with spaceports designed to accommodate both their advanced ships and Earth's primitive vessels. A joint space rescue service was established, combining human experience with alien technology. Storm Chaser crews now included members of both species, sharing their knowledge and skills. The Anderson-Thompson Storm, still swirling in space, became a training ground for this new partnership. Lieutenant Ray, who had done so much to teach the aliens, became the first human instructor at their space academy. Navigator Deep, in turn, helped establish an advanced sensor facility on Earth. The two species found that they complemented each other perfectly. Human intuition and adaptability balanced with alien technology and precision. Years later, when another species encountered trouble in the storm, they were rescued by a joint human-alien crew. The sight of advanced ships flying alongside primitive vessels, working in perfect harmony, showed the galaxy a new way forward. As Captain Miller often said at graduation ceremonies for the Joint Rescue Service, "Space doesn't care how advanced your technology is. It cares about wisdom, courage, and the willingness to learn from each other. That's what makes a true spacefaring civilization." The story of the Great Rescue became legend, told and retold across human and alien space. It taught a lesson that would shape relations between species for generations to come. True wisdom means knowing that everyone has something to teach, if only you're humble enough to learn.